In the stark vacuum of space, a lone figure watched the swirl of stars, her eyes mirroring the cold, brilliant pinpricks of light. Captain Alara Miles stood aboard the clandestine orbital dockyard of Ceres 4th, the weight of a suppressed rebellion heavy in her chest. She wasn't just building a ship, she was forging humanity's clandestine sword, a warship named Defiant, a bold contradiction to the laws that bound her kind. The memory of ash and screams from a destroyed human colony scorched her resolve as much as it tormented her dreams. This ship, this enormous defiant promise, was her answer to a galaxy that seemed to care little for human suffering. The vast docking bay, around Alara, hummed with the low, steady thrum of heavy machinery and the crisp arcs of welding torches. Sparks cascaded like tiny meteors, burning briefly bright before dying on the cold metal floor. Above, the protective shield of the dockyard shimmered subtly, a curtain of energy that cloaked their activities from prying eyes among the stars. Alara's gaze shifted from the stars to her crew, a patchwork of former naval officers, rogue engineers, and a few spirited idealists who believed in this cause as fiercely as she did. They moved with purpose, their faces set with determination, each one aware that every weld, every circuit, and every bolt was a silent cry for autonomy. The air was thick with the scent of ozone and hot metal, a smell that had long since become the perfume of resistance. "Status report," Alara called out, her voice cutting through the din of construction. A young engineer, his face smeared with grease, approached, a tablet in hand. "Thrusters are aligned, and the stealth tech is integrating well, but we're running low on beryllium for the shields," he reported, his tone a mix of pride and concern. Alara nodded, her mind racing through potential solutions. "Scavenge what we can from the secondary supplies. If that's not enough, I'll make a run to the asteroid belt. We can't afford a delay, not when we're this close." As she turned back to the blueprints displayed on the hollow table, her heart thudded with a mixture of fear and thrill. Every second they remained hidden was a small victory, but she knew the true test would come when Defiant sailed through the stars, a beacon of human resilience and a challenge to the stifling peace enforced by the Interstellar Peace Union. Her crew trusted her, believed in her not just to lead them in building a ship, but in steering them through the impending storm. As she plotted the next phase of construction, Alara felt the weight of their hopes and the heavy responsibility of their lives resting squarely on her shoulders. Her resolve hardened. She would see this through, not just for revenge, but for a chance at a future where humans could stand equal in the galaxy. This was more than defiance. It was a declaration of humanity's indomitable spirit, and Alara Miles was at its helm, ready to challenge the cosmos itself. The confined space of the orbital dockyard buzzed with the fervor of silent warriors, each member of the crew a crucial cog in the grand machine of rebellion. Captain Alara Miles watched them from her makeshift office, a converted observation deck that overlooked the sprawling skeleton of the Defiant. Below, the crew wielded tools like weapons, each spark from their welders a whispered battle cry. Among them was Mikhail Jensen, the chief engineer, whose hands were as adept with a plasma cutter as they were with a pencil. He was a giant of a man, not just in stature but in intellect, his mind a labyrinth of schematics and equations. Today he was deep in the bowels of the ship, troubleshooting the propulsion system with a young prodigy, Lila Santos. Lila, barely 23 and sharp as the edge of a quantum blade, had ideas that seemed to leap bounds ahead of current tech. Together they were a formidable pair, their dialogue a rapid-fire exchange of technical jargon and innovative solutions. Alara turned her attention to another team, led by Tara Flynn, a former combat pilot, whose career was cut short by a peace treaty that grounded her squadron. Tara was now channeling her adrenaline into tactical systems, ensuring that Defiant could outmaneuver any IPU patrol they might encounter. Her team was testing the navigation consoles today, their fingers dancing over holographic displays like conductors before an orchestra. The air was thick with the tang of ionized particles, a constant reminder of the invisible dangers they courted with every modified circuit. The dockyard was a cavernous chamber, its walls lined with racks of tools and materials salvaged from decommissioned freighters and defunct outposts. Lights hung from the high ceiling, casting pools of illumination that flickered occasionally, as if winking at their clandestine endeavor. Suddenly, a shout pierced the usual hum of activity. Alara's heart skipped a beat as she rushed toward the source, her boots echoing on the metal grating. She arrived at a scene of controlled chaos. One of the power conduits had overheated, its casing blistering enough to emit a thin wisp of smoke. The crew was already there, dousing the area with a fire suppressant that hung in the air like a ghostly fog. "Report," Alara demanded, her eyes scanning the crew for injuries. "We caught it in time, Captain," Mikhail reassured her, his voice calm despite the adrenaline that surely coursed through his veins. "But it's a clear sign we're pushing the grid too hard. We need to rethink the power distribution, or we risk more than just a fried conduit." Alara nodded, her mind already turning over the problem. "Okay, let's pull back on non-essential systems until we can redistribute. Safety first, we can't afford any accidents." As the crew dispersed, Alara lingered, her gaze settling on the damaged conduit. It was a stark reminder of the razor-thin margin between success and disaster. Each day brought them closer to their goal, but the path they walked was littered with risks, both seen and unseen. That evening, as the artificial daylight of the dockyard dimmed to simulate night, Alara gathered her crew for a brief meeting. They stood in a circle, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of emergency lights. "We are not just building a ship," Alara began, her voice steady and sure. "We are building hope. Hope for a future where we are not at the mercy of anyone's laws but our own. I know it's hard. I know it's dangerous. But I also know that there's no one I trust more to face these challenges with than all of you." The crew nodded, their expressions resolute. They were more than just rebels. They were pioneers on the frontier of a new era for humanity. As they dispersed to their quarters, a sense of unity lingered in the air, binding them together not just in purpose but in spirit. Alara remained a moment longer, her eyes once again drawn to the stars beyond the shield. They were so vast, so indifferent, but soon, she hoped, they would bear witness to humanity's indomitable will. The surveillance hub of the Interstellar Peace Union IPU on the orbiting station Helix 9 was a stark contrast to the chaotic fervor of the Defiant's secret dockyard. It was a place of shadows and whispers, where light flickered from multiple displays, casting an ever-changing glow on the cold, metallic walls. Here, Administrator Threx stood, a silhouette against the backdrop of countless star systems monitored from afar. Threx, his scales a dull silver under the artificial light, observed the data streams flowing across his screens with a predatory focus. His office was a high tower of solitude, filled with the hum of quantum computers and the soft clicks of his taloned fingers tapping commands into the console. Each screen displayed fragments of conversations, cargo manifests, and travel logs, a web of information spun across galaxies. As a high-ranking IPU oversight official, Threx was tasked with maintaining the delicate balance of peace that the Union had fought hard to establish. His belief in the law was unyielding, born from decades of witnessing the chaos that arose from unchecked ambitions. He had seen planets turn to dust in the fires of war, civilizations uprooted. Those memories fueled his dedication to his role, and he bore it not as a burden but as a sacred duty. Today, his attention was fixed on a particular anomaly, a series of encrypted transmissions intercepted from the human territories. The patterns were irregular, the coding sophisticated, hinting at something more significant than mere commerce or communication. With a few deft commands, Threx isolated the signals, enhancing the audio for analysis. Enhance, Sector 7, G. Filter out the commercial lanes. Threx instructed his AI assistant, his voice a low rumble that filled the small chamber. The display shifted, zooming in on a cluster of asteroids near the fringe of the Oort cloud. On another screen, a decryption program ran tirelessly, algorithms twisting and turning through the layers of security that masked the human messages. Threx's gaze remained fixed, his mind racing through possibilities, strategies, and potential threats. Then, a breakthrough. The screen flickered, and the audio clarified, revealing a conversation between two humans, their words cautious yet urgent. They spoke of supplies, schedules, and something hidden, a project of great importance and great risk. Threx's eyes narrowed. He replayed the segment, his mind piecing together the scattered clues. A warship, perhaps? It was a direct violation of the Treaty of Orion, which expressly forbade human military expansion. His scales bristled at the thought. Such a breach would not only endanger the fragile peace, but also challenge the authority of the IPU. Determined to uncover the truth, Threx initiated a covert operation. He dispatched surveillance drones, cloaked and silent, to the sector pinpointed by the intercepted transmissions. His orders were clear: observe, report, and not engage. He needed undeniable proof before he could act. As the drones departed, slipping unnoticed into the void, Threx turned his attention to assembling a tactical response team. If his suspicions were confirmed, he would need to act swiftly and decisively. He selected his agents carefully, each a specialist in their field: intelligence, combat, negotiation. They were to be ready at a moment's notice, a blade sheathed until needed. The night deepened around Helix 9 as Threx continued his vigil. His office, usually a place of solitude and command, felt tighter, the walls echoing with the potential of imminent conflict. He understood the weight of what might come, a confrontation that could redefine the boundaries between species and sectors. Yet his resolve did not waver. In the silent hours of the artificial night, Threx prepared himself for what was to come. His duty as a guardian of peace required him to quell the fires of rebellion, even if it meant bearing the enmity of an entire species. With a final glance at the stars, cold and distant, he readied his forces for a mission that could either preserve the delicate cosmic order or shatter it completely. Deep within the bowels of the Defiant, tension crackled like static electricity, as palpable as the ever-present hum of the ship's burgeoning systems. Captain Alara Miles paced the narrow corridor outside the main engineering bay, her footsteps muted against the cold metal floor, her mind awash with the weight of impending discovery. The engineering bay, a cavernous room aglow with the soft blue light of power cells and computer screens, was alive with activity. Mikhail Jensen, his brow furrowed in concentration, was hunched over an open-access panel, his hands deftly moving through a tangle of wires and conduits. Beside him, Lila Santos pointed at a holographic display, her expression tense as she debated a critical recalibration of the energy distribution system. "We need to reroute the auxiliary power through the secondary grid," Lila explained, her voice a steady stream of confidence. "It's risky, but it might give us the buffer we need to prevent another overload." Mikhail nodded, his eyes never leaving the intricate web of technology before him. "Do it," he replied. "And keep an eye on the thermal gauges. We can't afford another fire." The decision made, Lila turned back to her console, her fingers dancing across the interface with practiced ease. The rest of the engineering team watched, a collective breath held as the power levels began to stabilize. The threat of disaster momentarily abated. Alara watched from a distance, her heart a mix of pride and fear. Each crisis averted brought them closer to completion, but also closer to the moment when hiding would no longer be an option. The Defiant was becoming more than a ship. It was a symbol of human resilience, a testament to their refusal to be bound by alien laws. But outside the protective cocoon of the dockyard, the universe was not so forgiving. Administrator Threx, with the entire resource of the IPU at his disposal, was closing in. His surveillance drones, unseen sentinels in the void, drifted ever closer to the secret they were desperate to protect. Back on Helix 9, Threx watched the live feeds from his drones, the screens a mosaic of starfields in shadow. His office was dim, lit only by the glow of monitors, the atmosphere as taut as the strings of a piano before a concerto. His eyes, sharp and unblinking, tracked the movements of each drone as they approached the coordinates of the last known transmission. Suddenly, a drone feed flickered, static obscuring the view before clearing to reveal a cluster of asteroids, the perfect camouflage for a hidden base. Threx leaned forward, his clawed finger hovering over the command console. "Zoom in on Sector 4, he ordered, his voice a low command that filled the quiet room. The image expanded, the rocks coming into sharper focus, and there, nestled between two massive boulders, was the unmistakable outline of human construction, the metallic sheen of a hull, the angular geometry of a hangar bay. Threx's scales rippled with a mix of vindication and dread. He had found them. But now came the hard part. He had to act quickly, decisively, but with enough care not to spark a conflict that could ripple across galaxies. With a deep measured breath, Threx opened a secure channel to his tactical team. "Prepare for engagement," he said, his voice steady despite the storm he knew he was about to unleash. "We move at first light, capture if possible, contain if necessary." As the channel closed, Threx remained at his post, his gaze fixed on the stars beyond his ship. They were silent witnesses to the dramas that unfolded in their shadows, indifferent to the struggles of those who dared to defy the vastness of space. Back on the Defiant, Elara ended her day with a quiet moment in the observation deck, staring out at the cosmos. The stars, once symbols of hope and adventure, now seemed to mock her with their calm. She knew that the dawn could bring her dream to life, or see it shattered. But she was ready. Her crew was ready. And together, they would face whatever came with heads held high and hearts resolute. The Defiant would live up to its name, no matter the cost. The pre-dawn hours aboard the Defiant were tense and electric, charged with the combined anticipation and dread of a crew poised on the brink of unveiling their creation to the universe. Captain Elara Miles stood on the command deck, her eyes fixed on the viewport, watching the stars slowly fade as the first hint of cosmic dawn tinted the void. Around her, the crew moved with quiet efficiency, securing stations and running final checks, their faces etched with the gravity of their impending confrontation. Outside the hidden dockyard, the space was deceptively peaceful, a stark canvas punctuated by the distant twinkle of stars and the silent drift of asteroid debris. Hidden within this quiet tableau, the IPU tactical fleet, led by Administrator Threx, lay in wait. The sleek, dark hulls of the IPU ships blended with the shadows of space, their presence betrayed only by the occasional glint of starlight on a metallic surface. Threx stood in the command center of his flagship, the Overwatch, his gaze locked on the strategic display before him. The coordinates of the Defiant's last known position glowed ominously on the screen, a beacon that had led them here to this moment of truth. His crew was silent, the air thick with anticipation, every officer acutely aware of the delicate thread upon which peace currently hung. "Signal the Defiant," Threx commanded, his voice calm but carrying an edge of steel. "Let's see if they are as defiant as their name suggests." On the command deck of the Defiant, the communications officer turned to Elara, a slight tremor in his voice. "Ma'am, we're being hailed by the IPU fleet." Elara nodded, her expression resolute. "Put them through." The main screen flickered before stabilizing to reveal Threx's imposing figure, his features set in a mask of official duty. "Captain Miles," he began, his tone formal, "you are in violation of the Treaty of Orion. Stand down and prepare to be boarded." Elara met his gaze through the digital expanse that separated them. "Administrator Threx, with all due respect, we cannot comply. This ship represents more than just a vessel. It is the embodiment of our right to defend ourselves. We will not stand down." The standoff was palpable, even through the sterile medium of the communication channel. Threx's eyes narrowed slightly, a silent acknowledgement of Elara's defiance. "Then you leave me no choice but to enforce the law." But before he could issue the order to his fleet, Alara's voice cut through the tension. "Before you make your next move, watch." With a nod from Alara, the Defiant powered up, its engines igniting with a roar that resonated through the hull. The ship moved gracefully, a dance of defiance as it maneuvered between the asteroids, its weapons systems lighting up in a display of capability, but not aggression. Threx watched, his expression unreadable. The display was impressive, a clear demonstration of human ingenuity, and a stark reminder of their will to survive and fight if pushed. It was a checkmate in the high-stakes game of cosmic chess. Administrator Alara continued, her voice steady and strong. "We do not wish for conflict, but we will defend ourselves if forced. I propose a parley. Let us discuss terms that respect our needs and your laws." Threx considered her words, the weight of the decision pressing upon him. A battle here could ignite a larger conflict, one that might spread across the sectors. Slowly, he nodded. "Very well, Captain. I will meet you on neutral ground. But know this, my orders stand firm. We will not allow you to operationalize this vessel as a warship without oversight." "Agreed," Alara said, a hint of relief in her voice. "We will prepare for your arrival." As the communication cut, both leaders turned away from their screens facing their respective crews. In the silence of space, a fragile truce hung in balance, its duration uncertain but its necessity clear. They would meet, they would talk, and perhaps in the breadth of the cosmos, they would find a way to bridge the chasm that divided them. Back on the Defiant, Alara's crew gathered around her, their faces a mixture of pride and apprehension. She looked at each of them, her heart swelling with pride. "No matter what comes," she said, "today, we showed them who we are. Be ready for anything." The story of Defiant and its crew was far from over, but today they had achieved something monumental. They had stood their ground, and for now, that was enough. The neutral ground, a derelict space station hovering at the edge of the Talos star system, bore witness to the tense negotiations between Captain Alara Miles and Administrator Threx. The station, a relic of a more tumultuous time, drifted silently in the shadow of a dying star, its halls echoing the whispers of past conflicts in uneasy truces. Inside the station's dimly lit conference room, the atmosphere was charged with a cautious expectancy. Alara sat across from Threx, the table between them scattered with digital documents and historical treaties. The walls, lined with transparent aluminum, offered a panoramic view of the void, a stark reminder of the vastness in which their delicate dance of diplomacy unfolded. "Administrator Threx," Alara began, her voice steady, despite the gravity of the moment. "This ship, the Defiant, is indeed more than metal and circuits. It symbolizes our hope and our right to security. We built it not to start a war, but to ensure peace on our terms." Threx, his expression inscrutable, listened intently. His tail flicked slightly, a subtle sign of his agitation. "Captain Miles, while I understand your position, the laws of the Interstellar Peace Union are clear. No member species may unilaterally arm themselves without oversight. This treaty protects us all from the specter of war." The negotiations continued, with each leader presenting their case. Alara spoke of the threats that humans faced, pirates, rogue factions, and the slow response of the IPU in crises. Threx countered with the need for unity and the dangers of an arms race. As the star outside the station began to set, casting long shadows through the windows, a compromise slowly emerged. The Defiant would be allowed operational status, but under the supervision of a joint IPU Human Oversight Committee. Additionally, Alara proposed the formation of a rapid response unit within the IPU, staffed and led by humans, to address security concerns swiftly. Threx considered the proposal, his gaze drifting to the viewport and the star beyond. "Your proposal has merit, Captain. It addresses our concerns while respecting your needs. Let us draft this accord." With the agreement reached, digital documents were signed, and hands were shaken. The meeting concluded with the promise of a new beginning, one forged from mutual respect and necessity. Back aboard the Defiant, Alara addressed her crew, who gathered around her, hanging on every word. Today we navigated the treacherous waters of diplomacy and emerged not just unscathed but validated. The Defiant will serve as a beacon of our resilience and as a testament to our rightful place in this universe. The crew erupted in subdued cheers, their relief palpable. Yet, as they dispersed, a sense of solemnity settled over Alara. She returned to the command deck, her eyes once again drawn to the stars. The agreement was a victory, but the road ahead remained fraught with uncertainties. As the Defiant prepared to leave the station, Alara took one last look at the derelict, its silhouette a ghostly frame against the dimming star. She felt a kinship with the old station, both witnesses to the ever-evolving dance of peace and power. Set course for home, she instructed her helmsman. The Defiant hummed to life, its engines glowing like the heart of a star, ready to face whatever challenges the future might hold. As the ship slipped away from the station, blending into the cosmic ballet of the universe, Alara felt a cautious optimism. They had secured a future, however precarious, where humanity could stand tall among the stars. In that moment, she knew that no matter what lay ahead, they were ready.